Hello and welcome to Brainwaves episode 161, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. My name's Ian McAllister.
And my name is Jamie Adams, and these are the headlines for the week of Monday the 5th of May, 2025. Stonemaier sues the president. Greater Than Games are sold down the river. And CMON puts on the brakes. All this and more on this episode of Brainwaves.
As the US tariff situation goes from bad to worse to completely unpredictable, Stonemaier Games announced on the 21st of April that they are joining a lawsuit that is going to challenge the authority of the executive branch to impose tariffs. Stonemaier Games are the publisher of games such as Scythe, Viticulture, and cultural juggernaut Wingspan. Stonemaier Games is joined by fellow board game companies XYZ Game Labs, Rookie Made, Spielcraft, and Tinkerhouse Games in the lawsuit, alongside Princess Awesome, a clothing company, Quent Cordair Fine Art, an art studio, King Seal, a kitchen supply company, Mischief Toy Store, and 300 Below, a cryogenic processing company. In an update posted on the 24th of April, Stonemaier Games confirmed that the lawsuit had now been filed as Princess Awesome and Stonemaier Games et al. Versus Customs in the Court of International Trade. The lawsuit is fighting for a refund of the tariffs already paid and to protect the companies taking part and thousands of other American small businesses from unconstitutional tariffs. The lawsuit wants to establish that under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, the President has the power to investigate, regulate, or prohibit any transactions in foreign exchange and to regulate importation in response to a national emergency, but that it does not cover tariffs, much less give the President authority to impose tariffs or duties. As a result, the lawsuit claims that
President Trump cannot invoke IEEPA as a statutory basis to unilaterally impose tariffs. If the courts determine that the text of IEEPA does grant the President substantial tariff authority, then it would be an unconstitutional delegation of lawmaking power in violation of the Constitution.
Molly Nixon, an attorney at Pacific Legal Foundation, which represents Stonemaier Games in the lawsuit, explains the situation further.
The Constitution grants Congress, not the President, the power to impose tariffs. The President cannot assume this power for himself, and Congress can't transfer that legislative authority to him. The uncertainty many Americans are experiencing shows why the Constitution gives the power to make laws to the representative and deliberative branch of government.
Jamie Stegmaier, co-founder of Stonemaier Games, gives the following reasons for filing the lawsuit.
We will not stand idle while our livelihood and the livelihoods of thousands of small business owners and contractors in the US are treated like pawns in a political game. We now face a $14.50 tariff tax for every $10 we spend on manufacturing with our trusted long-term partner in China. For Stonemaier Games, that amounts to upcoming tariff payments of nearly $1.5 million.
Stegmaier also appeared in a short interview on the US news channel CNN to talk about the lawsuit, a link to which you can find in our show notes. The issue is gaining momentum because Pacific Legal Foundation's lawsuit isn't the only one. Similar cases have been filed by the New Civil Liberties Alliance in the Northern District of Florida, Trinell Law of Montana, and the Liberty Justice Center. If you'd like to read the opinion of someone who voted for the Tigers Eating My Face party and are now upset about the Tigers eating their face, then we recommend a piece in the New York Times, which we'll provide an archived link to, talking to Dane Chapin, who established USA Opoly, or more commonly known as the OP, more than 30 years ago. It is quite the read.
Well, that's the OP off our review list. Not that we review, but...
No, I don't think they're on the review list in the first place.
Well, no. Yeah. You know what they are on, though? They're on the outro list, and I am taking them off the outro list.
That is very true. I mean, I do admire the effort here, and I admire Jamie doing this, but it does rely on one thing, and that is that the Trump administration respect the rule of law, which they blatantly don't, and have proven time and time again that they don't. And there's a bunch of people who think that the courts are going to somehow save them here, and it's just not going to happen because the Trump administration doesn't care. That's the truth of it, as far as I can tell. It'd be nice if it wasn't. It's horrible, and I really feel for everyone affected by it, but the Trump administration just does not care about the law.
It is despicable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have stronger words, but of course I'm not going to make this board game podcast political.
Yeah, and of course he still changes his mind about tariffs, saying like, oh, drug companies will be exempt from these tariffs or that tariffs, and it just weekly changing his mind on things. So yeah, I mean, I hope something comes of it, but I really, really doubt that it will.
Well, something will come of it. Just not the things we want. Again, no politics, please. No politics, please.
But we are not done with tariff news quite yet, are we, Jamie?
No, I'm afraid we're not. On the 17th of April, Daryl Lauder, the creative director at Greater Than Games, posted on their Facebook page.
I couldn't confirm yesterday, but can today. Due to the current tariff war, Flat River Group has shuttered Greater Than Games effective today.
Flat River Group is a US distributor that acquired Greater Than Games in December of 2021. Greater Than Games publishes games such as Spirit Island and Sentinels of the Multiverse, as well as current two-player darling Compile. We initially heard about this on the morning of 17th of April, and later that day, this was posted to the Greater Than Games website.
Effective today, tabletop game publisher Greater Than Games has undergone a reduction in staff in response to ongoing economic pressures resulting from the international tariff crisis. Currently, all new projects are suspended as the global tariff situation remains volatile. However, the Greater Than Games website will remain operational with in-stock products available to order. Goods in the current catalogue will still be produced as needed. Updates will be made at a later date for customers who ordered upcoming products, crowdfunding, and pre-orders. Parent company Flat River Group will continue to support its retail and distribution partners through ongoing communication and fulfillment services as always.
The three co-founders of Greater Than Games, Paul Bender, Adam Rebotaro, and Christopher Bedell, have all been retained and continue to work for Greater Than Games as the company is wound down. It's our understanding that the rest of the team, about a dozen people, have lost their jobs. The layoffs at Flat River Group do not appear to have stopped Greater Than Games, though. On the 18th of April, Olivia Lothery posted that they were now looking for work as they had lost their job at Flat River Group. We have no other details of people who have been fired from the company at this present time. R. Eric Royce, the designer of Spirit Island, posted on his own website about the closure of Greater Than Games.
You may have heard that Greater Than Games was largely shuttered today. This is a tragedy, and my heart goes out to all the great folk who've been laid off. They're excellent people and have been great to work with. Thank you to everyone who's reached out to me upon hearing the news. I really appreciate it. I personally am doing okay, both practically and emotionally, aside from strong feelings about the layoffs.
We at the Brainwaves team wish all the best to those who have lost their jobs and hope that one appears to them very, very swiftly and it's a job they feel satisfied in.
I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. I mean, Greater Than Games was a well-established, relatively stable company with good titles in its portfolio. Spirit Island, incredibly popular. Sentinels of the Multiverse, incredibly popular. Compile, doing great guns on the social media over the last sort of few months, and a second sort of set of that on the way. And it's just gone in the blink of an eye overnight. That's it. It's done, and it won't be the last by a long shot.
No, there are some people I know who are going, well, this is a massive overreaction. Well, maybe it's them going, and this is not me agreeing, this is me thinking, Flat River Group goes, Greater Than Games, you're doing good. You're making a lot of money. You're not making all the money. You're not making enough money that we expected you to make. You make a lot of money. We want more. And because you're not making that more, we don't need you. Go away.
Who knows what the internal decisions were for Flat River Group? I mean, obviously, profitability is going to be a major factor there, but also maybe the types of games that Greater Than Games are putting out. I mean, Spirit Island's a fairly component-heavy thing.
It's a component-heavy game, and it's an expensive game.
It is an expensive game, yeah. Which means
about
I wouldn't be surprised.
£80.
I think it's about 70, 80 retail.
Yeah.
You can probably get a little cheaper than that, but yeah, 70, 80 retail. I mean, it's good value for money. I have reviewed it. It's really good. It's one of my favorites.
I know you're a big fan. But I think there's also this continued myth. The continued myth of infinite growth, which is what we have seen in so many industries, and I think
just globally, not even in industry, just an attitude from political leaders as well, that you can just maintain that constant growth. It's just
no politics.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but yeah, this myth of infinite growth that we are now seeing. I don't want to say chickens coming home to roost, but this is. I don't like a lot of these companies shutting down, but it's kind of chickens coming home to roost, guys.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Greater Than Games team, they sold to Flat River Group in the hope of sort of expanding. But
when I say that, I don't. I'm sorry. When I say chickens come, I don't mean that. They've done this and this is what's happening now. I mean just this myth of it's always going to keep going, and the fact that now it's not, and they've got to go. Wait, how do we actually deal with this when everything we have set in motion assumes our mythical plan? Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to hand you over to Ian, because Ian's got a story about another company that we've talked about a great deal.
Indeed, over the last couple of casts, we let you know that Cool Mini are not, or more commonly known as CMON, seem to be in a lot of trouble. The company is behind hit titles such as Zombicide and Blood Rage. First, it issued a profit warning to investors, revealing that its losses could hit $2 million for 2024. It then followed this up by delaying publication of its financial results that led to the suspension of trading in the company on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Now has issued an update in a press statement on its site, suspending all ongoing development on games and promising to deliver their current crop of Kickstarters. We're going to quote the statement in full.
Our CMON community means a lot to us, so we felt it was important to share with you some difficult decisions at our company today. Given global conditions, and most notably the situation with tariffs, CMON has decided to focus on our current commitments to our customers and partners and prioritise the timely delivery of existing projects. So effective immediately, we will be pausing all future game development and new crowdfunding campaigns until trade conditions have stabilised. Unfortunately, this involves extremely difficult staffing decisions affecting all of our creative teams with reductions. We did not make this choice lightly, and our thoughts are with everybody impacted. We are incredibly grateful for their roles in our success over the years, and these talented people will be missed both professionally and personally. The industry continues to rapidly evolve, and unpredictable situations like the recent tariffs or COVID just a few years ago present challenges for everyone in board games. With that said, it is our responsibility to take these difficult measures to ensure that we can keep current projects on track and deliver them in a timely manner. We will of course resume new development as soon as possible. Please rest assured that these decisions will help ensure that we keep our commitments to our backers, partners, and community.
Now, on top of this, former COO David Prey, who stepped down into a non-executive role in September 2024, has now fully left the company. Board Game Wire in the last couple of days have reported that Cool Mini or Not's losses for 2024 are going to be larger than predicted. The total loss is $3 million, almost double its total profits from the previous 3 years combined. This is coming from the company's delayed annual report that we mentioned earlier in this piece. The initial loss prediction, I'd like to remind you, was $2 million. We'd also like to remind listeners that as of recording, Cool Mini or Not has 10 outstanding Kickstarter campaigns and bought 2 more from Mythic last year, taking them to 12 outstanding in total. Yeah, indeed. Now, I feel personally like CMON's statement is an admission that their model is a house of cards, using one Kickstarter to fund another. It's also... I mean, it feels like the early days of Mythic's collapse. I mean, Mythic are still about, technically, but must be basically out of the picture by now. We just haven't heard anything from them for a while. But Mythic started to downsize. They started to fire staff. They kept promising to deliver Kickstarters with a reduced amount of staff. You're just not going to be able to, because you're reducing the people who can actually do the thing that you need to do to make money. And it feels like the early days of that, again, just on a bigger scale.
To save money, you're getting rid of the people who make the money.
Yeah. So we'll bring you updates on that as we hear them, folk, but it does not look good for Cool Mini or Not.
I will do this very quickly, because on their Cool Mini or Not website, you can see a list of all the current crowdfunding campaigns that they have. So I'm going to read them very, very quickly. So if you hear this, yours might be in trouble. Zombicide White Death, Mordred, Deceased a Zombicide Game, A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, Masters of the Universe the Board Game Clash for Eternia, DC Superheroes United, D-Genesis Clan Wars, Cthulhu Death May Die Forbidden Reaches, God of War, and Massive Darkness, Dungeons of Shadow Reach.
I believe Zombicide White Death has started to deliver to backers recently.
It has. It is in progress of being delivered, but it is not delivered as of yet, hence why I included it.
That list does not mention the 2 projects they bought from Mythic, Hell and Anastasia, which, as we understand, have not had an update in about a year. Fun and games in the tabletop industry, and we're going to move on to a little update about some distributor problems now.
Back in episode 157, we reported that distributor Diamond had filed for bankruptcy and that Alliance Entertainment had put in a bid for the company. Now, on the 26th of April, Alliance terminated that bid with no warning, and there was much speculation as to what happened. The backup bidder was a group of interested parties that include the company that owns WizKids. On the 29th of April, Alliance submitted a complaint against Diamond, alleging fraud and deception as to Diamond's relationship with Wizards of the Coast, makers of Dungeons & Dragons. The complaint states that Diamond's largest vendor was Wizards of the Coast, accounting for about 25% of their revenue. What Diamond didn't tell Alliance is that Wizards of the Coast had decided not to renew their distribution agreement beyond the 31st of December 2024. To make things even more confusing, you may see Alliance game distribution talked about in relation to this story. That is the game distribution arm of Diamond, not Alliance Entertainment, that wants to buy Diamond.
Best I can tell.
Best we can tell.
Yeah, an ongoing assignment at Diamond that is likely to have far-reaching repercussions for many games companies. I know that Fred Hicks, who's the CEO of Evil Hat, posted about the initial sort of collapse of Diamond and Alliance game distribution because they were quite heavily involved with that. It accounted for about 10% of their annual sort of turnover. So I would imagine other games companies are going to be in a similar boat. And yeah, the hits just keep on coming in terms of like distribution and production in the tabletop games industry.
Not the first and will not be the last.
No, indeed. It sounds like Diamond are going to properly collapse. There was a second bidder, as we mentioned in the piece, so maybe they'll pick up the sort of pieces of Diamond, but not necessarily the full distribution. We'll bring you updates as we hear them.
Probably not the Saudi royal family, not again, surely. And now on to the rest of the news.
On the 17th of April, Meredith Placko, current CEO of Steve Jackson Games, announced that they were resigning. The resignation was effective the next day. Steve Jackson Games are the publishers of Munchkin, Car Wars, and the GURPS series of RPGs. Placko said,
I'm proud of the work I've done, and so grateful for the talented people I've had the chance to work with. It's been a meaningful, challenging, and creatively fulfilling chapter in my career. I remain passionate about this industry, but it is time I turn my attention back to the company my husband and I founded together.
Placko is returning to TurboDork, the miniatures paint company, to oversee its next phase of growth. The latest annual report from Steve Jackson Games showed the company to be roughly flat over 2024, with Steve Jackson himself saying this.
Cash flow was acceptable, but I don't feel prosperous. This is not just us. Individual game sales industry-wide were down at both the distribution and retail end, largely due to the glut of titles.
Meredith Placko was one of the first to call out the effects of the Trump tariffs on the board game industry, commenting on them when they were only 54%, not the 125% they are currently.
Ah, the heady days of 54% tariffs.
Indeed. We wish Meredith all the best in her new role. I think it's going to be really hard for companies the size of Steve Jackson Games to find people willing to steer their ships through such turbulent waters as we're seeing at the moment. I think that's going to be a really hard ask.
And just to remind listeners, if anyone does get confused, there is a UK Steve Jackson and a US Steve Jackson. This is the US Steve Jackson Games.
But there's even more confusing stories about Steve Jackson and Steve Jackson, but we'll not get into that.
We do not have time.
No, indeed. Jamie, let's Star Trek Across the Universe. Is that what the next story is about?
Sort of. Right. So we've been talking a lot about tariffs, funnily enough. I mean, why wouldn't we? But it's not the only reason that companies are struggling, of course. Final Frontier Games, publishers of Merchant's Cove, posted an update to a recent Kickstarter announcing their company was folding. The update starts.
Dear backers, we have devastating news to share with you about this project and the future of Final Frontier Games. Due to the situation in the world, the tight cash flow that we've operated under in the past period, and most importantly because of debtors from which we cannot collect money, we are forced to close down operations and thus unable to fill this campaign at this stage.
The post goes into the long-running issues the company has had over the course of the pandemic years, but had some hope that they were turning a corner and looking to revitalize the company. They laid the blame for the final nail in the company's coffin at the foot of CMON. CMON wanted to distribute a Chinese localization of Merchant's Cove that was the latest Kickstarter campaign from Final Frontier. CMON have not paid Final Frontier for this translation and have stopped communication between the two companies. Now, by Final Frontier's own admission, they put their faith in CMON out of a pride that they were working with one of the biggest companies in the hobby. I refer you to our previous story.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Final Frontier sounds like a company a little bit that was like going from Kickstarter to Kickstarter, but there was some hope in their message that they were sort of digging their way out of that. But yeah, the sort of CMON not paying up has sort of put a final nail in the coffin. I'm sure the tariff situation hasn't helped either. No.
Okay, moving on from companies that are in tricky, rough waters to maybe a slightly better story? Maybe. On
the 30th of April, ICV2, a news site for the geek hobby, reported that Hachette Boardgames has acquired game distributor 999 Games. Hachette Boardgames is a subsidiary of Hachette Livre. Hachette Boardgames owns a number of game publishers such as Gigamic, Studio H, The Scorpion Mask, as well as the distributors Hachette Boardgames USA, Hachette Boardgames UK, and Hachette Boardgames Benelux. It is Hachette Boardgames' latest acquisition after it bought French distributor BlackRock Games in 2019. 999 Games is based in the Netherlands and serves customers there as well as in Belgium. It sells approximately 2.5 million games each year and serves over 1,000 retail locations, adding to Hachette Boardgames' existing customer base and reach. Looks like Hachette are adding a few more distributors to their portfolio to sort of help them just get their games out wider, which can only be a good thing. They've got a very interesting catalog, a lot of different games, a lot of different price points.
They're doing a great job about getting a lot of distributors and companies like that under their belt. Great.
Yeah.
Let's hope this is done, and it seems to be right now. I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt for now. Seems to be done relatively well so far. Let's hope there's not an Asmodee situation where they gain so many that eventually it needs to bud off.
Who knows what the situation is for Hachette Boardgames USA, but the UK branch seems to be doing pretty well. They're still attending conventions and they seem to be prospering quite a lot at the moment. So yeah, keep an eye out for them at UK conventions. Now, Jamie, tell us about an award. You like them.
I do. And this is an award for the giant brains among us. See what I did there, Ian? See what I did this?
You're a genius.
Mensa, an organisation for anyone who scores in the top 2% on an IQ test, has announced the 2025 winners of its Mensa Select Award. Each year, hundreds of the organisation's almost 50,000 US members meet over one weekend to play and rate the year's newest board games. The top 7 games each earn a Mensa Select distinction, which means they are original in concept, challenging, and well designed, according to the membership of Mensa. Additionally, these games are good value for the price, easy to learn and play, and above all, fun, according to the membership of Mensa. The 2025 winners are as follows: Agueda, City of Umbrellas by Dustin Dobson, Diatoms by Sabrina Silva, Farms Race Deluxe Edition by Daniel Dranove and Tom Wiener, Hutan by Asker Harding Granerud, In the Footsteps of Marie Curie by Florian Fay, Plundering Times by Rainer Knizia, and Treasure of the Dragons, also by Rainer Knizia. Congratulations to all the winners, and Rainer Knizia.
Indeed. It's a nice mix of games there. We've interviewed Sabrina Silva on the cast before. It's really good to see them do so well with Diatoms. It's actually been making a few waves. I've seen a few bits and pieces about the place. People have got their copies, they're playing them, and it seems to be doing really well, which is great. I have played none of the games on this list, as is traditional for an awards piece on the show.
Woo! To be honest, I love the fact that it's more funny when we do actually play games that are nominated.
Yeah, much as I like this award, it's worth mentioning that IQ tests are kind of a bit weird. They're a bit weird.
Hence my after most things going, listen, this is according to the membership of the US Mensa. Branch Mensa, fine. I've always said when we've covered this, I think their choice to consider price is an important thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that that's also taken into consideration.
Indeed.
Also, I'm not making fun of Rainer Knizia. If you don't know, he's a very, very prolific board game designer who's done
over 800 games now.
Oh, something like that. I think it's just very funny to see 2 separate games by him in the same list being like, yeah, they're both good. He's done over almost 800 games, people.
Yeah. Yes, he has.
Yes. Now, going from awards to our old friends, Wizards of the Coast.
If you cast your minds back, folks, to the early days of 2023, then you may have been aware of attempts by Wizards of the Coast to rewrite the open gaming license for Dungeons & Dragons. To cut a very long story short, the OGL, as it's more commonly known, was what gave creators permission to write Dungeons & Dragons material and sell it without having to establish contracts and similar with Wizards of the Coast. At the time, Wizards of the Coast tried to monetize this relationship more and quickly walked it back as the community reacted extremely negatively to the changes. Wizards of the Coast even went further and said that they would put all of the 5.1 system resource document, or known as the SRD, under a Creative Commons license. They posted this about those changes at the time.
This Creative Commons license makes the content freely available for any use. We don't control that license and cannot alter or revoke it. It's open and irrevocable in a way that doesn't require you to take our word for it. And its openness means there's no need for a VTT policy. Placing the SRD under a Creative Commons license is a one-way door. There's no going back. For clarification, VTT is virtual tabletop.
Now it seems like Wizards of the Coast are trying to massage that license. Some details were picked up by a sharp-eyed commentator known as Dave Thamavor. The Deck of Many Things is a magic item long associated with Dungeons & Dragons. In the SRD 5.2 that has been announced recently, the Deck of Many Things has been renamed to Mysterious Deck. The reason given is this.
Renamed in SRD 5.2 only to avoid using protected trademarks, still referred to as Deck of Many Things in official products.
Dave looked into the trademark and found that it had been applied for with the latest update to the application being April 2025. Dave claims that Wizards can't do this as the Creative Commons license explicitly prohibits imposing additional or different terms or conditions. And Dave is now attempting to challenge trademark, but says it may take some time to come to any conclusion.
Thank you very much to Dougal from our Discord for sharing this with us.
Indeed, Wizards of the Coast backtracking on a promise shocker, and also from the quote that we had in that piece, I chose that one in particular because it does basically say that the SRD is completely unalterable, and they cannot revoke it.
Excuse me, they have altered the deal. Pray they do not alter it further.
Indeed, yeah. So, from what Dave says in his piece, it might take a few years for that to come to any kind of conclusion. So, who knows what will actually happen there? But it shows that big companies like WotC will just sort of sneak things around sometimes.
Of course, they are big enough. They've got Hasbro who owns them, in their corner.
Some very expensive lawyers.
Some very expensive lawyers, and of course, we talked earlier about it's a company based in America. I'm not saying, lumping it all together, but you got the expensive lawyers.
Indeed. Well, let's go to our jobs board, Jamie.
If you're a game designer, and some of you might be, you may be interested in taking part in Ravensburger's upcoming Game Inventor Days. Running from the 15th to the 16th of May, game creators from around the world are invited to present up to 2 of their best ideas in English, French, or German via a video call. If the publisher likes what they see, your game could potentially become a published Ravensburger game. Check out the full information on the Ravensburger website, a link to which we've put in the show notes. But it does not end there, oh no. The Raffle in aid of the Trussell Trust, a charity that runs UK food banks, is back. Tickets are £1 and all proceeds, minus fees, go directly to the charity. The prizes for the May raffle are a copy of Clask, Rolling Realms Redux, and Heroes of Timeline, all of which are review copies, so not brand new, but in very good condition. I believe this is organised by Oliver, who sadly is not with us tonight. But I think this has been going on for quite a while now. I'm never going to really say much bad about the Trussell Trust unless some really heinous stuff comes out, because they're great.
Yep, a great charity, and Oliver does some lovely work for them. So yeah, do go and check that out. We'll put links to it in the show notes.
Some wonderful work. But that's not all. Edinburgh Games Cafe and community hub Ancient Robot Games is expanding its influence. Opening soon, the Ancient Robot Workshop will be
a space for professional and hobbyist game designers, artists, and authors who work on tabletop games.
A press release sent out to an email list said the space would have printers, 3D printers, hireable workspace, hot desking, and more to come as the team behind the venture get feedback. Now you can sign up for more information at their site, a link to which will be in the show notes.
I'm going down there next Tuesday to have a look at the site as well.
Nice. We're both big fans of Ancient Robot Games. Obviously, you get to it more than I do. But, yep, good to see that expanding.
Yeah, the Ancient Robot Games, there's a review of it on our website. It's one of our only shop reviews that we've ever done. And it's down the bottom of Leith. We do thoroughly recommend it.
Bottom of Leith Walk, not the very bottom of Leith.
Yeah, bottom of Leith Walk. Yep, in Edinburgh. Do go and check out.
Yes. And you know what else you should check out? Our Patreon.
Yes, you should indeed check out our Patreon. These people already have Kevin Bertram from Fourth Circle Games, James Naylor from Naylor Games, and Shaun Newman from the Gamelot team. Thank you so much for continued support at the executive level. You can join them for just $1 a month, and you get a little bit of behind-the-scenes information from us every month, as well as access to a little bit of extra writing on our site as well. You can also sign up for free to our Patreon to get access to a couple of bits of extra writing that I do a month. You can support us in various other ways. You can find that on our site. We'll put links to that in the show notes. But Jamie, you got to catch all the old men?
Excuse me?
What
are you insinuating, Ian?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
That's what this card game's about, isn't it? Something like that? I don't know.
A little... Right, okay. Card games. Collectible card games. They've been made about a whole host of subjects, and now I'm going to get Ian to rattle off some collectible card games that have been happening over, let's say, the last 20, 30 years.
Ooh, 7th Sea, Warhammer 40k, Austin Powers, the card game, SimCity, the card game. That's real, by the way. Doomtown, Vitesse, Magic the Gathering, of course, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! There was one that had rock, paper, scissors as its main mechanic, but I can't remember what it was called.
Okay. Also, that game that you mentioned called Magic the Gathering, I don't think it's going to do well. No. Anyway, but what about the theming of middle-aged men in your hometown? Don't run away. In Kawara, a small town in Kyushu, southwest Japan, a card game has sprung up in 2023 called Oji-san Trading Card Game. Oji-san meaning uncle or middle-aged man. It was designed in part as an effort to heal the rift in Kawara of an aging population and lack of generational cohesion. There is over 100 cards right now, and most of them contain one of 22 men, including Mr. Kitamura, a whiz with electrical repair, Mr. Honda, the ex-head of the fire brigade, and Mr. Takashita, a soba chef who teaches classes in noodle making, on a variety of cards, each with magic points and hit points. Middle-aged men from around Kawara. Now, the initial run was just designed, collectibles. It's like a little thing to kind of go, here are some of the middle-aged men in the town. Kids, you might want to know about them because everyone's got stories. But the town took it to heart. And the designer, Hiroe Nishiu, is struggling to keep up with the explosive demand. I mean, they've even had visitors from Czechia and the Netherlands visiting to see the cards, get a starter pack. People are playing it like 3 or 4 days a week. And they're going, there's people who reported saying, this is really cool when you win, and it's even cooler when you play with a card and you win with a card of somebody that you know. And apparently, again, this is all according to like town councillors, the designers, like shire members of the community, middle-aged men, are like, oh, can we, getting them out and making them kids aware of who they are. Some of them are getting stopped for autographs in the street. This is lovely. I mean,
nearby, great. I love it.
Yeah, nearby towns are also planning to release their own like card games, including one just of local fishermen. Well, again, it's quite interesting, quite nice. I would also like to say, I really hope they do include women at some point, because, half the human race.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. Listen, I understand. I'm not trying to have a go at Japan's cultural sensibilities. I don't know what they are because I've never been. I'm not going to start going that. But let's also have a look at women, because half the human race, everybody.
Indeed. Yeah, it's a fascinating little thing. I love little games like this that sort of evolve out of something, especially like it done as a sort of project by someone and then just sort of taken off with a sort of mind of its own. There'll be expansion packs, no doubt. Tournaments worldwide.
Give it time.
Amazing. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, folks. If you like what you've listened to, then the best way to help us out is to share the podcast and drop us a review and rating on your podcast host of choice. You can also follow Oliver, who couldn't be with us tonight, at his blog, that's tabletopgamesblog.com. You can join us on our Discord. There'll be an invite in the show notes. We're on Blue Sky. I'm giantbrain.co.uk. Oliver is tabletopgamesblog.com, and Jamie is on there as well. Where our Facebook is The Giant Brain, our website is giantbrain.co.uk, and if you'd like to email us in confidence about any of the stories that we have covered or should cover, then please do so. It's giantbrainuk@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.